Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Deku joined the League of Villains. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Before we get into it though, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. So, you are all going then? Tenyu questioned the students now before him. They all nodded in confirmation. Currently, Tenyu was outside the hospital with Todoroki, Kirishima and Yoyorozu. They were planning on rescuing Bakugo and Ashido from the villains. Yoyorozu had planted a tracking device on one of the villains who had escaped with the aid of a student in Class 1B. The idea was to rescue them without actually getting into a fight, or so they said. The two boys were going because they couldn't do anything before when they were captured, but now they could. Yoyorozu was going because she trusted Todoroki and would be there to stop the boys in case things got worse. Looks like we'll never be able to see eye to eye. Since that's the case, then take me with you, Tenyu asked. I'll be there to stop you all from getting into trouble. There were looks of surprise from everyone. Kirishima changed to a grin. Be honest. You were planning on coming with us all along, he said. Only if I couldn't convince you, Tenyu replied. At any rate, since we're avoiding combat, the five of us should extra cautious. Kirishima nodded with enthusiasm. Todoroki and Yoyorozu looked suspicious though. The five of us. Did you tell another student about this? Yoyorozu asked nervously. Getting someone else involved doesn't sound like you, either. It isn't a student actually, Tenyu replied. Well, you were planning this. I thought I wouldn't be able to convince you, so I made a phone call. You could say I called in a favor. Who's coming with us? Todoroki demanded. Relax, it's not a pro hero. It's, please leave the introduction to me, a female voice rang out. Up here just so you know. Everybody looked up to see a woman with pinkish hair tied up in pigtails standing on top of a lamppost. She was dressed mostly in black. She wore elbow-length gloves, a mask covering her face, boots, a mini skirt held by a 3-hearts belt, and a succubus-themed leotard with a heart at its center. She leapt down to properly introduce herself. Internet pop star and vigilante pop step here. She greeted them. Nice to meet you all. Flashback. Hey there Tenyu. Are you alright? I heard about what happened at your training camp, Koichi said over the phone. I'm fine, but that's not why I'm calling. I called because I need your help, Tenyu replied. Tenyu explained Kirishima's plan and when it was taking place. So, you're planning on going then? Koichi asked concerned. Did you learn nothing from that time in Hosu? The trouble you got in then will be nothing to the trouble you get in now. I know, Tenyu replied frustrated. I will only go if I can't convince them, which I doubt I will. That's why I'm calling Koichi. If we do go, we'll most certainly encounter trouble. Our combat authorizations have been revoked, meaning we'll be powerless. Is there any way you could come over, or even send someone to help us? Tenyu realized that if this rescue mission were to succeed, they would need help. They would need a way to bend the rules. A way to fight without actually fighting. Koichi seemed to understand. He knew even if he tried, he couldn't stop Tenyu from going. While he did not want Tenyu to get in trouble again, he knew it would happen anyway. At the very least he could make sure he had a better chance of coming out unscathed. Well, Knuckleister and I are busy now, but there is someone I can send over to help. She's actually a popular idol online. One warning though, she can be a bit of a diva, Koichi cautioned. Flashback end. The students couldn't believe their eyes or ears. Ida was in contact with vigilantes. That was completely out of character for him, and the opposite of what he was saying to them a few minutes ago. A lot more happened to me in Hosu than you think, Tenyu explained. I met people, I changed a bit. The others looked uncertain. Vigilantes were after all technically villains. In other words, they would be working with a criminal. Before you go complain about working with a vigilante, or a criminal as you see it, let me ask you this. What are you planning to do? She asked. Her question earned her uncertain looks. Exactly. What I am and what I do may be against the law, but guess what? What you're planning to do is also, so don't act so high and mighty. This time she got looks of guilt and shame. I know most of you are against this, but please believe me, this will up our odds. Our combat authorizations have been revoked, so we can't attack. Pop Step on the other hand can. Technically speaking she is a villain, but in reality, she is a hero, Tenyu reasoned. Let me ask you something. When was it wrong to actually help someone? They all stared at Ida in shock. They couldn't quite tell, but something had changed within him. He was like a completely different version from the one they already knew. Fine, we'll accept your assistance, Ms. Pop Step, Todoroki said. But only until we've rescued the others. Pop Step nodded. Tenyu was relieved. The other two looked determined. With the issue settled they headed off into the night. Their rescue mission began. At Izuku's apartment. So, you take all these notes simply from observing other people's quirks, Mina exclaimed. I can't believe it. Mina had looked through one book out of curiosity. The way it's so detailed in how the quirks were structured, their weaknesses and how they could be improved. Mina couldn't deny she was impressed. Currently, she was in his room helping him move around some notes as his assistant. It had been stated that she may be helping him in the science department also, but not much more. So far Deku seemed to be keeping to his word about what she would be doing for him. Why was she going along with it? It was a much better option than being a torture toy, and she decided it would be better to go along with it for now, at least until someone came for her. Thanks. The ones from the sports festival are to your right if want to look at them. Notes about your quirk are in the 4th notebook, Izuku offered. The rest are filled with notes on all the competitors. Mina's jaw white dropped open. She was speechless. Izuku laughed at her reaction, though he really couldn't blame her. There weren't many who were actually capable of that sort of thing. Why you took notes on every single competitor? Mina stuttered. Izuku nodded. I had the monitor to help me. I'm not that fast, he reasoned. That did nothing to take away her shock. Speaking of the sports festival, there's something I'd like to ask you, about one of your classmates actually, Izuku said. Mina replaced her shocked expression with a confused one. If Deku had been at the festival, shouldn't he know enough about her classmates' quirks already? Since you've been honest with me, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how well I'll be able to answer though, Mina replied. Izuku nodded in understanding. Shoto Todoroki. From what I saw at the festival, he can manipulate both fire and ice, with each half of his body representing those powers. Yet for some reason he doesn't use his fire. In fact, from what I could see he seemed disgusted by it. I was just wondering why, Izuku stated. It had been something on his mind for a while now. He remembered at the festival exactly how Todoroki reacted when he used his left side during the cavalry battle. It hadn't been intentional, just a heat of the moment choice. In the aftermath of the event, he appeared quite furious with himself for even using it. Mina went silent. She didn't exactly have a good answer. She didn't speak with Todoroki much, or at all even. He wasn't social with his classmates. He barely even interacted with anyone unless someone spoke to him first. I don't know if this will help, but it may be something to do with his father, Endeavor, Mina explained. Whenever their relation to each other was brought up, which is very rare, he always gets angry. That's all just a guess though. Todoroki isn't really social with any of us in Class 1A. You probably are wrong. I've had an encounter or two with Endeavor while performing quirk analysis. Believe me, he is not a nice person. The first encounter, I nearly got caught in his fire. He didn't even apologize, he replied. In contrast to other heroes, he is quite violent and hot-tempered. You aren't wrong. It's been stated by others online. Still though, Mina said with a sad expression. Todoroki can be a bit cold to others, but sometimes, he just looks sad, like he's hurting in some awful way. Izuku said nothing. It seemed that Todoroki was reluctant to use his pyrokinetic quirk due to psychological trauma, one possibly caused by his father. Mina looked at the notebook that contained data on her quirk. She was curious at what Deku wrote about it. He's definitely right about my gliding. My weakness it seems is that rely too much on my hands and feet to use it offensively, also the range at which I can shoot acid isn't very far. There are also questions about whether I can use it without excreting it from my body, she thought. Then she came to the improvement section. If I increase my acid solubility and viscosity, I may be able to create a gelatinous substance which could be used for defense. To improve my range of fire, put my palms together and shoot through the gap. Wow, these are some interesting ideas. Deku really did a good job at quirk analysis. He was probably better than most professionals, and at such a young age. At that exact moment, Izuku received a text from Kurogiri, saying he, and by extension Mina, was requested at the bar. Mina, we're needed at the bar, well mainly me, but you have to come also, Izuku said. I don't know if the other villains are aware you're here or not, but I won't let them bother you. They're not as bad as you think. Mina looked slightly nervous but said nothing. She felt safe with Deku, she believed she could trust him with this. Besides, after getting to know him a bit, she was slightly curious about the other villains. While she had fought against villains before, she had never really interacted with them. Deku was the real first encounter. Muscular and Kurogiri didn't count, since she hadn't really had a conversation with them. Before they left, Mina had something she wanted to ask Deku. If you don't mind me asking, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, she started. Go on, Deku urged. I was wondering. How did you become a villain? She asked nervously. Izuku's eyes whitened slightly. He wasn't angry, he knew she would ask this question eventually. But did he want to tell her? Mina had only become his assistant. He didn't want to entrust her with all his secrets, especially since there could be a time when she might escape, or if possible, he could free her with the right circumstances without getting into trouble. Perhaps he could just tell her about how he joined, leaving out the events that led up to it. He didn't feel ready to talk about that stuff. I'll tell you how I joined, but I'd rather leave out the events that happened until that point, he stated, to which Mina nodded. Taking a deep breath, Izuku spoke. About a year ago, I had a lot going on with my life. I had a lot of pain that built up. One day, some bad things happened and I just couldn't take it anymore. So, at the end of the day, I climbed to the top of a building where a certain event happened earlier that day, and I jumped, hoping I'd be reborn with a quirk in another life. Mina's blood froze. She stood there, unable to respond in any way. She was too shocked too. Deku had tried to commit suicide. It was all too much to take in. Kurogiri saved me on Sensei's orders. He'd seen my notes on quirk analysis, was quite impressed. He asked me to join as a result. I accepted, of course, though I did set some conditions to better my situation, he explained. Mina was curious about how that man from before, sensei he referred to, came across Deku's notes. She was more curious about something else. Conditions? She questioned. 1. I have free reign over what I do, it lets me control what happens. 2. I am provided with this living space since I didn't want to go home, my mother is much safer with me not around, he replied. Mina saw a slight shift in his eyes, a hint of sadness. 3. Regardless of the situation the League is in, I will not have to kill. That's one line I will never cross. Mina said nothing. Deku was a villain not for bad reasons, but because he had been pushed to that point. And his mother, from the way he spoke about her, it was clear he loved her. Leaving to keep her safe was enough proof. At the same time, Mina was relieved he wasn't a killer. He didn't want to cross that line, and he was right too. Since I told you about how I became a villain, would you mind telling me why you wanted to become a hero? Deku continued. I'm just curious. Mina's face brightened into a smile. I don't mind at all actually. In fact, I'd love to tell you, she said energetically. It all started in middle school. Izuku was surprised at how quickly she had changed her tone. This must have been something Mina really liked talking about. Back then I was popular with the school and my classmates, well, most of them. My quirk was strong, I had good looks and personality, so it was encouraged. What made me really want to be one, however, was the way I dealt with bullies. I told you before I didn't always have it easy growing up, Pink, but that all stopped a while before I entered middle school. Whenever I saw someone being bullied, I would intervene and manage to make everyone get along. Even if I was scared of a bully, I would do it. I can't quite describe it, but when I did, the feeling I got after helping someone, I wanted to get it again. I wanted to help someone again. And I think that's when I realized I wanted to become a hero, to help others, Mina explained. Well, this was a surprise. Mina wanted to be a hero for the same reasons he had. She was quite passionate about it too. It was sort of admirable really, there weren't many aspiring heroes like her around. At that exact moment, Kurogiri appeared using his quirk. Sorry to interrupt you both, but Deku, you are requested at the bar. Ms. Ashido, I do apologize, but you must come also since we cannot leave you unattended, Kurogiri explained. Oh, that's alright. But will he be there? Mina asked nervously. You mean Muscular? Yes, he will be there, I'm afraid. However, he will not try anything. Not unless he wants to end up dead in a ditch, Kurogiri replied seriously. Muscular knew better than to stand against Sensei. There is something I should mention. The rest of the villains, Shigaraki included, are unaware that you are actually here. The two teenagers were surprised. Mina may have only been here a short while, but it's still something the others should have been told about. I did not inform them about your presence because now Shigaraki is mainly focused on Bakugo. To put it simply, it wasn't the right time to tell them, Kurogiri continued. Well, you may not agree with it, that's the truth. A quick warning though, Ms. Ashido, some of them can be a bit extreme. Mina gulped but nodded in understanding. Izuku was annoyed with the situation but made no complaint. He did however advise Mina to stay near him, something she was fine with, and so Kurogiri transported them to the bar. At the bar. Ah, Kurogiri, you've brought Deku, Tomura started. The moment he saw Mina however his tone changed. What the hell? Who's she? Everyone turned to look at Mina. The majority, Bakugo included, were surprised to see her. Muscular grunted in annoyance. This is Mina Ashido from Class 1A. Like Bakugo, she was kidnapped and brought here, Kurogiri introduced. And now she is Deku's assistant. Everyone gave looks that held a mixture of surprise and confusion. Explain, Tomura demanded. And so, it was Izuku who explained the situation. How he found Mina, why she was here, and that she was now his responsibility. He made sure to include that it was all on Sensei's orders so Tomura and everyone else would understand the situation. So, you went on your own little mission, did you, Muscular? Why does it not surprise me? Tomura stated. I was warned that you were one of Atrocity's group but didn't really care since you were of use to me. I still don't care because the mission was a success. However, since you are part of this group, try to act like it. I won't tolerate something like this next time. Muscular flashed a glare at Tomura and turned away. He didn't really want to be part of this conversation. Dabi also remained silent. He knew Deku hadn't known about the mission until last night, so there was a high probability he would get in trouble. Besides, he didn't like Tomura much, Muscular even less, a lot less. Tomura wasn't sure how Deku knew about the mission's objective, but he didn't care. If he was doing this on Sensei's orders, then that was enough. Listen up you, Tomura threatened, turning his attention to Mina. If you try anything, I'll kill you. You so much as try to escape, and I'll disintegrate your face. Understand? Mina nodded fearfully. She knew full well what this man was capable of. She remembered the injuries Mr. Aizawa sustained during the USJ incident. You'll do nothing of the sort, Shigaraki, Izuku stated loud and clear. Mina is my responsibility, not yours. Therefore, what happens to her will be my decision. That applies to all of you. She is not to be harmed, not unnecessarily at least. but you were definitely not allowed to kill her. The villains, except Kurogiri and Bakugo, were surprised at this. Mina, on the other hand, was touched to the core. She hadn't known Deku long, but in the short time she had, he had defended her from both harm and death. He was a good person. Fine, whatever, just make sure she doesn't do anything rash, Tomura replied. As Tomura turned his attention back to Bakugo, several villains moved towards Deku and Mina. These were Dabi, Toga and Twice. Toga here, Himiko. Toga said while blushing. I hope we can become friends. Mina was taken back at this girl's attitude. Hi there. I'm Twice. Nice to meet you. It's not nice to meet you, Twice exclaimed. Mina was confused by Twice's speech patterns. He said something 1 second, and the next he was saying the exact opposite. There was no logic to it. Name's Dabi. Dabi introduced himself. He said nothing more after that. Mina didn't know what to make of him. Aside from that, they didn't seem too bad. Can I try some of your blood? Toga asked enthusiastically. Then again, no Toga, you may not, Deku told the girl. I said no harming her. Toga pouted with annoyance. Mina wasn't comfortable though. Sensing this, Dabi spoke up. Don't worry about it. She's like that with everyone. Something to do with her quirk, Dabi explained. Yeah, she is, Twice added. She's the sanest person in the room. If you say so, Mina replied as she turned to Toga. You wouldn't want to try my blood anyway, sweetie. It's acidic. Everyone was amused by her response. It seemed the girl had a sense of humor, even in the strangest of situations. Hey my classmates. I know you encountered some of them during your mission, Mina said. Basically, what I'm curious about is, they're dead if that's what you're thinking, Dabi stated. The majority of them got injuries but no more. Once we got Blasty over there, we retreated. Mina sighed in relief. She had been worried about the status of her friends. They're really something though, Dabi continued. Not the sort that should be underestimated. The Chaco and Suyu are really cute too. I'm glad I could become friends with them, Toga stated. The Chaco especially, she's a girl in love, I like people like her. Mina ignored the friends part completely. It was the last part that had her complete attention. Mina quickly moved in front of Toga. No way. The Chaco has the hots for someone. Who? Someone from class 1A. It can't be Ida, they're just friends. It definitely isn't Mineta, he's such a huge pervert. Todoroki possibly, since he's the most handsome in class. Don't know about the others, she said quickly and loudly. Oh, and it definitely can be Bakugo since he's such an obnoxious jerk. The latter, having heard her comments, started shouting. Watch what you say, acid bitch, or I'll kick your ass, Bakugo shouted. Mina promptly ignored him, much to his fury. She, along with the rest of her classmates, was pretty used to Bakugo's outbursts now. That aside, her attention returned to Toga. Who is it? She asked impatiently. Who does she have a crush on? Toga giggled. She really liked this girl. I don't know, Toga responded with a grin on her face. But I could tell just by looking at her. When I brought it up, she was blushing like crazy, so I knew I was right. Mina was disappointed that Toga didn't know who Chaco had a crush on, but was excited, nonetheless. This was big news, the kind which she would be bringing up the next time she saw the girl. Her reaction would be something to look forward to. How could tell just by looking at her? Dabi asked, confused. Toga blushed again. Girls, we just know these sorts of things, she stated. At that moment, no one had a response to that. The three men standing there just stared at Toga blankly. Well, that's good for you, Twice said. You shouldn't have something that awful. Mr. Twice, are you okay? Mina asked, concerned. It's just that you're saying something and then contradicting yourself repeatedly. Twice flinched at being called Mr. He had never been addressed so politely before. The other villains were surprised at how polite Mina was being to them. Shouldn't she be scared of them? They were the reason she was here after all. Oh, that's well, it's a personal problem that stemmed from me using my quirk, Twice informed her. I can make clones of different objects, myself and other people included. When I was younger, I made a lot of clones of myself and made them do what I wanted. I was their ruler, you could say. However, they had their own wills and soon started arguing amongst each other. We argued about who was the original and who was a clone. Eventually, things got violent. We began a fight which lasted for 9 days where we killed each other. It was quite brutal. At the end of it all, I was the last one left standing. Now I don't know whether I'm the original or just a clone created. Mina gasped. She couldn't believe the trauma this man had gone through. Didn't anyone ever try and help him? That's kinda why I act this way, Twice explained. It hasn't been easy though. My personality made it difficult to get a job, and there was never anyone who knew how to help me. It's also one of the reasons I joined the League, to make a society where people like me can live. Well, that and I was inspired by Stain also. Mina felt a pang of sympathy in her heart. Like Deku, Twice was a villain due to terrible circumstances. All he really wanted was a better life than the one he had now. That wasn't wrong, his methods maybe, but his intentions. Mina couldn't help but wonder if anyone ever actually tried to help Twice. Surely there must have been some way, therapy perhaps. Mina couldn't help but wonder about the other villains' reasons for being here. If you don't mind me asking, why are most of you villains? Mina asked. Dabi frowned. Toga's blushed more profusely. Mina knew her question was slightly daring, but she couldn't suppress her curiosity. From all she had seen and heard, she knew they had their reasons for choosing this life, just as she and her classmates had their reasons for wanting to become heroes. Well, the majority of us were inspired by Stain to do more, to create a better society. As to why we're villains, well, Dabi started. For me, life is too hard. I just want to make it easier to live in this world, Toga spoke up. My quirk involves me consuming people's blood, and it's kind of become addictive in a bad way for me, so. Mina felt sad for the girl next to her. Toga had a quirk that basically ruined her life, and she hadn't done anything to deserve it. Izuku frowned as he knew it was far worse than what Toga was describing. I'd rather not say, Dabi muttered. It's something similar to theirs though. He did not want to talk about his past to anyone, especially a stranger. It was painful enough just remembering it. What that man put him and his family through, he would never forgive. Once he made Stain's will a reality, he would hunt that man down like a dog, and kill him in the slowest way possible. I'm sorry, she said, barely keeping tears back. What for? Dabi asked, confused. It's not like it was your fault. It was then that tears ran down Mina's face. Deku, twice, Toga and Dabi were stunned at her reaction. They couldn't understand what they had done to make Mina so upset. I know it's just that, those things that happened to you all. You didn't deserve any of it, but it still happened. And what's worse, no one ever tried to help you, Mina sobbed. How can I not feel terrible? How can I not feel sad for you? The villains were shocked at what they had just heard, though it was only the ones nearest to Mina that showed it. The others tried to pretend as though they hadn't heard it. They were still surprised though. Even Katsuki was stunned at Mina's reaction. For the ones who had told their story, no one had cried for them, much less felt the remotest bit of sympathy for their situation. Perhaps it was because they were villains that people didn't care, but still, the fact that this girl did care made them feel a warmth they hadn't felt in so long. It made them feel happy. But Atrocity was shaking with excitement. It was almost time for his plan to come into full effect. All for One didn't need to die just yet. Atrocity needed him alive for just one thing. It was the very reason he had Viper working on the device. The police and heroes should be starting their assault sometime now, Atrocity sneered. Why wouldn't they? Especially when they were tipped off about the hideout's location. Atrocity may have let it slip where All for One's base of operations was. His group were the only one that anyone was focused on these days, as the police and heroes were unaware of the League's other branches. When Tomura's group is captured, All for One will step in and use a quirk to bring them to his location, while sending several Nomu to distract the heroes. However, the moment that quirk appears, the device's Atrocity planted around the hideout will lock on and follow through. And that's when the real show begins. As he thought about all of this, he laughed to himself. It's finally time. Get ready, boys, because here I come. With others, different groups were ready to make their move. The heroes and police were ready to raid the hideout and take back the kidnapped students, as well as deal with the Nomu warehouse. All Might was prepared to face All for One. He was ready to put an end to the League once and for all. He was ready to save his students. He was ready to save Izuku from his dark fate. Tenya's group was currently at the warehouse where the tracker was emitting its signal. They were all wearing disguises so the villains wouldn't recognize them. Pop's outfit was already a disguise itself. So far, they had been fortunate enough not to encounter any trouble. Nevertheless, Pop was ready should the moment arrive. She was a lot more formidable than she was when she first started off as a vigilante, and had even learned how to use the whip she was currently carrying. Utilizing her quirk, Leap, which allowed her to jump very high provided there was something to jump off, she jumped, taking Kirishima to the top of the wall to gaze into the warehouse using binoculars he purchased earlier. He, and the rest of the group, were shocked to discover that the entire warehouse was stored with Nomus. That just left one question. Where were Bakugo and Mina? At the bar. Mina and Izuku were watching the press conference from UA, and she didn't like the way it was going. The reporters were making the teachers in school look like the bad guys, when it wasn't really their fault that the camp was attacked. Mina was even more surprised that Mr. Aizawa was doing this considering how much he hated the media. Since he was a teacher present during the event, it did kind of make sense. They paid no attention to Tomura's conversation with Bakugo. The sound of an explosion brought them back to the people around them. Mina and Deku turned to see Bakugo free, and the hand that usually covered Tomura's face was blown off. I tried being quiet for as long as possible, but I can't stand it anymore. If I hear one more word out of you, I'm gonna throw up, Katsuki snarled before switching to a more menacing grin. Basically, you guys want me to join you, right? You gotta be kidding me. I've already been won over by the way All Might looks when he wins. And nothing you say or do will change that. Mina panicked slightly. It looked like things were about to get violent. Izuku wasn't the least bit surprised by Bakugo's reaction. Despite his personality, he had always deeply admired All Might. The way he looked when he won a battle is what inspired Bakugo to become a hero. The UA interview continued. One reporter was questioning Aizawa about why he urged the students to fight, to which he and Nezu replied honestly. They imagined a scenario where there were deaths. Then came the part about the kidnapped students. Bakugo was believed to be kidnapped because of the villainous qualities he displayed during the sports festival. What he said about Mina next stunned her as well as others in the room. As for the girl Ashido, despite not showing any villainous qualities, she does possess a dangerous quirk, one that could easily be used to kill others. What if the villains kidnapped her as a potential weapon for them to use? The reporter accused. Mina flinched. Was that what people really thought about her quirk and herself? She was usually quite careful when she used her quirk to avoid causing any harmful damage to anyone. She had to be, otherwise, someone could die. Some of the villains couldn't believe what they had just heard. Mina wasn't kidnapped for any such reason. Where the press was getting these ideas, they had no idea. Ms. Ashido Kurogiri spoke up. I wouldn't let a statement like that bother you. The press is clearly just trying to get your teachers to say something negative, so it will damage their reputation, nothing more. Mina glanced at Kurogiri, unsure of how to respond. That was when Deku spoke up. What they're saying about your quirk isn't wrong, however, it's the same for every other person with a quirk, he explained. Take a look at your classmates and teachers. Can you say that none of their quirks could be used to kill? Mina considered this for a moment. Deku wasn't wrong. Quirks like Bakugo's and All Might's could be used to take life unless they were exercised with great caution. So, she was in the same boat as others. I guess you're right. I was just surprised that people would think those sorts of things about me, Mina explained. Unfortunately for her, the reporter was not done. Furthermore, given that Ashido is a mutant, is the risk of defection not greater with her? Mina and Spinner froze. After all, it is a widely known fact that mutant types shift to villainy more often than others. The entire room was rendered quiet by that question. Most were left speechless, Mina included. Toga dropped her knife in shock. Spinner was spluttering as he eyed the screen with a horrified and hurt expression. Muscular whistled in amusement. Tomoe and Izuku were both in a state of disbelief. Hell, even Katsuki was in a state of shock over what the reporter said. Okay? That was just racist. Twice exclaimed. And he said it on live television. For those that knew Twice, it was incredibly rare to hear him say something without contradicting himself. And when he did, you knew it was serious. That son of a bitch. Spinner stuttered. The gecko villain was shaking with rage. That man, how dare he? Izuku glanced over towards Mina. She was still staring at the screen in shock. Thinking back on their conversation and his interactions with Spinner, he wondered just how bad discrimination was for heteromorphic types. They weren't the only ones shocked. Some at the press conference appeared offended by the comment, while the teachers were trying, emphasis on trying, to appear neutral. However, it was evident enough to know they were angry. At that exact moment, they heard Aizawa's voice. Any lapse in his behavior is my failing. His behavior at the festival was the result of his strong convictions and ideals, because he pursues the rank of the top hero with everything he's got. If the villains saw this as a weakness to exploit, then they are stupider than they appear. And as for Ms. Ashido, throughout the entire year and the course of her life, she has displayed a great deal of control over her quirk, and has displayed nothing but a positive attitude towards becoming a hero. Why was she kidnapped? We don't know. However, I seriously doubt it's for the reasons you are suggesting, Aizawa stated. Bakugo's emotions and Ashido's capabilities aside, do you have a counter-strategy? The reporter questioned. It's not like we're sitting around doing nothing. Currently, we are working with the police in their investigation. Make no mistake, we will rescue our students, Nezu declared. Also, if it is not too much to ask, please keep such comments to yourself as they extend to more than one person. His tone sounded soft, but contained a darker edge that promised trouble. Aizawa's faith in them, and Nezu's declaration to rescue them broke Mina out of her shock. It was clear that they hadn't been abandoned. Katsuki thanked you for sticking up for them, and made more threats to the league. Just so you know, my combat authorizations haven't been revoked, so I can still kick all your asses, he shouted. That goes for you too, Ashido. Stop being nice to these guys and actually fight back. While the villains commented on Bakugo's attitude, Mina started speaking. Bakugo used some common sense for once. We are outnumbered. And to top it all off, even if you do attack, Mr. Kurogiri will just block it like back at the SJ. Everyone was seriously surprised at how polite Mina really was being, especially considering the situation. Had she gotten that comfortable around them in such a short span of time? Katsuki glared harshly at her. The fuck is wrong with you? Katsuki snapped. How can you be so buddy with them? Did you forget they kidnapped us? He kidnapped me, she pointed at Muscular. And he rescued me. She pointed at Izuku. And as long as I play nice, no one is going to hurt me. Of course, I'm going to try and be civil. Because unlike you, I'm smart enough not to fight a battle I can't win. Katsuki scowled at her in disgust. With that cowardly attitude, it's no wonder you rank low in the sports festival. Mina, fed up with his attitude, shot her own glare. I'm not the one who had to be chained to the podium when All Might was handing out medals over a stupid tantrum, now am I? She yelled. Tick marks appeared on Katsuki's forehead at the reminder of the humiliation he endured. She has a point, darling, Magni admitted. Your conduct during the event was hardly heroic. Are you kidding? Spinner asked incredulously. He looked like an insane asylum escapee about to commit mass murder. Shut the fuck up. Katsuki roared. Ugh, so loud, Dabi complained. Is he always like this? You have no idea, Izuku deadpanned. That Toga groaned. Shigaraki, I don't like this one. Can we send him back and then kidnap someone less annoying? Tamura did not like his decision being called into question. Although with the way Katsuki was acting he was finding it hard to disagree. No wonder Deku hated him. Excuse me. Who the fuck do you think you are? He screamed, completely offended. There isn't anyone you could get better than me. That's just a matter of opinion, Toga replied, unfazed by the volume of his voice. Other members, like Dabi, covered their ears at how loud Katsuki was. They were really starting to regret kidnapping him now. Izuku and Mina were unaffected due to being used to tirades. That does it. I'm going to kill every single last one of you. Izuku rolled his eyes. Yeah, you want to kill everyone, he said impassively. Get a grip, Bakugo. For once in your life, just get a grip. If that's not so much to ask, Magni added as she caressed her ears. Ugh, my poor ears. That makes two of us, Compress groaned. Just when they thought he couldn't get any angrier, Katsuki's rage skyrocketed. If one were to look at him now, all they would see was a volcano on the verge of eruption. Deku, you bastard. I am gonna beat the shit out of you so bad you'll be recovering for months. He roared. He had never wanted to hurt Deku more than he did now. He wanted to remind Deku just how weak and pathetic he truly was. He wanted to remind him that he was the best, and he always would be. You're welcome to try, Izuku challenged. He wasn't the least bit frightened of Katsuki's threats, not anymore. Kurogiri was worried that Tamura was about to go berserk from what Bakugo just did, considering just how much that hand meant to him. Tamura, however, remained surprisingly calm. He picked up his father's hand and placed it back on his face. He then ordered everyone not to attack since Bakugo was a valuable pawn. Knowing that Bakugo wouldn't agree with him willingly, he turned to the monitor. Sensei, please lend me your strength, he asked his master. Excellent decision, Tamura Shigaraki, Sensei replied. That voice, you from before, Mina exclaimed, recognizing the voice. There was no mistaking it, this was the man that appeared on the monitor she was held captive in. I'm glad you remember me, Ms. Ashido. I do hope you are settling in all right, the voice replied politely. Mina simply nodded as a response. Deku was surprised he was there at all. How long had Sensei been there? Was he just here to observe Tamura's efforts? Sensei. You're not the boss. Well, now that's just pathetic, Katsuki barked. Tamura ignored Katsuki's outburst and told Kurogiri and Compress to put him to sleep. Katsuki continued to stand there and threaten them. He really wanted to beat the crap out of them all, Deku especially. He was so close, yet he couldn't reach him. At that precise moment, there was a knock at the door. Hello, Kamino Pizza Delivery. It was then that the wall spinner was leaning against exploded. Or more correctly, All Might smashed right through it. Kamui Woods closely followed by used his special move, Lacquer Chain Prison, to restrain everyone. Katsuki and Mina weren't caught in it. Dabi was knocked out with a quick kick by an elderly hero Izuku didn't recognize. League of Villains, there's no escape for you. Why, you ask? Because we are here. All Might announced. It was then that the number 5 hero Edgeshot entered through the door along with the police. It must have been terrifying for you, young Bakugo. You did well to hold out. I'm sorry I was not here sooner, but you're okay now, All Might said, causing the boy to make an embarrassed expression. Speaking of which, where is young Ashido? I'm here, Mina called out. Mina was unharmed, much to his relief. However, it was who she was standing next to that had his complete attention. His hair was shorter and was now black instead of green. His face was the same, and his eyes, he recognized them from the USJ. Izuku Midoriya, All Might murmured. I suspected you were Deku, but I didn't want to believe it. Izuku was stunned that All Might knew who he was. How could you have possibly known? Izuku questioned. We've only ever met twice, and the second time my face was covered. It didn't matter whether he confirmed it or not. He had already been exposed as a villain. Now people would know exactly who to look out for. I'll explain that later after we finish this ordeal, All Might replied. There's a lot I'd like to talk about with you. What could you possibly want from me? Izuku coldly retorted. He didn't see why he should tell this man anything. He owed him absolutely nothing. The two students were surprised. Deku and All Might knew each other. The way Deku was being hostile towards the man suggested their relationship was negative. No way around it then, Kurogiri, bring them all over, Tamura shouted. I'm sorry, Tamura Shigaraki, but the Nomu set for us are gone, Kurogiri pointed out. Izuku didn't know what had happened to the Nomu, but he didn't care either. After his last encounter with one, he personally never wanted to see them again. He didn't look at Mina, he wasn't going to beg for help in this situation. Besides, she was safer now that she was being returned to UA. He didn't really care what happened to him anymore. This was his fate since he joined the league after all. He was still sad about it and for his comrades. Prison, he had never even thought about what that was like, though he probably should have. Up until now, he had felt safe with the league, well, safer than he had ever been in his life. But now that had come to an end, and it was deeply unsettling for him. You have a lot to learn, Shigaraki, All Might informed him, much to the latter's confusion. There seem to be a few things that you and your little league have underestimated. Like this boy's indomitable spirit, this girl's incredible perseverance and the relentless police investigation. And most of all our rage. Your pranks have gone on long enough. It ends here, Tomoura Shigaraki. Tomoura couldn't accept this and went on a rant. Izuku didn't pay attention because struggling to breathe as Kamui Woods tightened his grip. Mina, who was still looking at Deku, noticed this. Hey, be careful, Mina said to Kamui. You're suffocating him. What? Kamui replied, confused. Then he noticed the way Deku was breathing and slightly loosened his grip. Sorry about that. Mina moved closer to check on Deku, not caring about the situation. He hadn't known her, but when the time came to it, Deku protected her from even greater danger, twice. The least she could do was make sure he was okay. Deku, are you alright? Mina asked, concerned. I'm fine, Deku panted. Believe me, I've been through much worse. What's going on here? Gran Torino asked curiously. He wasn't the only one. The heroes and the police were curious about what was going on also. The way Mina was behaving towards Deku was odd. She wasn't scared of him in the slightest. On the contrary, she appeared to be quite comfortable around him. She had to be. She was more concerned about his well-being than her own. Deku isn't a bad person. He actually saved me, Mina reasoned with them. Their statement received surprised looks from everyone, excluding the villains in the room. They couldn't comprehend why a villain would save Mina. She had already been kidnapped. What could he have possibly saved her from that was worse? All Might was more relieved than surprised. He didn't know what Izuku had done to aid Mina, but it did better his situation. While the heroes were distracted, Tomoura called out to Kurogiri to get them out of here. He never got the chance though. Something pierced through Kurogiri's side and rendered him unconscious. Magni believed him to be dead. Izuku knew what had really happened though. He isn't dead, just unconscious, he explained. It's Headshot's quirk. He can make his body super thin and stretch his limbs. He's even capable of transforming at the speed of sound, just like what he did now. Very impressive, the pro applauded. There aren't many who know what my quirk is capable of. Since this guy was the biggest threat, I just meddled around with his insides. We realized that despite being made up of mist, even he must have a physical type of body to keep his form. Don't worry, he's just going to be taking a little nap. With Kurogiri out of the picture, they really had no way to escape now. Their capture was all but assured. It was then that Gran Torino started listing off all of their names, with the exception of Dobby. There's no way left for you to run, so tell us. Where's that boss of yours? Gran Torino demanded. You gotta be kidding me, Tomoura replied with a voice that held a mixture of rage and disbelief. Beaten just like that? No freaking way. Disappear, go to hell. Everyone present was disturbed by Tomoura's behavior. Mina felt uncomfortable. Was this man having a nervous breakdown? It seemed that way. However, she couldn't help but feel there was something more to it. Izuku understood where it was coming from since he knew Tomoura's story. All Might asked the same question, but the latter screamed about how he hated him. It's alright now. I'm here. Without warning, several Nomu appeared through a black liquid substance similar to Kurogiri's quirk. The Nomus began fighting against the heroes, while the liquid absorbed every league member and the two students. Mina was caught by accident when she reached for Deku. As it did, the device's atrocity planted locked on and followed through, flying straight past the heroes. All Might screamed out as the children were taken from him again. He was about to dash for Tomoura but switched to Izuku at the last second. Like the others, he disappeared also, much to his frustration. Oklahoma Smash, he shouted as he shook off the Nomu by twirling around at major speed. He didn't have any time to waste. He needed to go after them. The way Izuku spoke and looked at him bothered him, but there was no time to think about it. He promised his mother he would find him and bring him back. That was all there was to it. A destroyed warehouse where the Nomu were stored. Everyone arrived gasping for air. That black liquid was awful, it reeked of death. All for one stood there to greet them. My apologies, Bakugo. And to you, Ms. Ashido, I hadn't planned to bring you along, he addressed the two students. He then turned to his apprentice. It appears you failed again, Tomoura. But that's okay. You just need to keep trying. That's why I brought your team. And this boy because you deemed him an important pawn. So, try again. That's what I'm here to help you do. He then held out his hand to Tomoura. It's all for you. He wasn't lying either. He genuinely did care about Tomoura. Ever since he had saved him from his accident, he had grown to care about him, although he was surprised at who he was related to. That didn't matter though. All for one wasn't prejudiced against anyone, whether they were related to an enemy of his, had a weak quirk, a quirk that altered their appearance, or even quirkless. He had been born in the age where quirks first appeared, so he knew better than judge someone. It wasn't just Tomoura he was concerned about, there was Kurogiri and Deku also. Kurogiri had faithfully and loyally served the League since his sister's suicide. All for one wasn't about to let him be captured. Then there was Deku. Despite having gifted abilities, All for one couldn't help but see a little bit of his brother in him. They were like in so many ways. Both originally quirkless, Deku still, both highly intelligent, both aspired to be the kind of hero people looked up to, despite whatever odds were stacked against them. Deku had also done so much for the League, so there was plenty of reason to be concerned about him. All for One detected All Might coming at him and blocked his attack with equal strength, causing a shockwave that sent everyone flying. I knew Sensei was powerful, but I didn't think he was this powerful, Izuku thought, impressed. He's definitely as strong as All Might. Meanwhile, the two rivals began to utter insults to each other about being weak while everyone watched. I'm not going to make the same mistakes I made 5 years ago, All for One. I'm going to take back Bakugo, Ashido and Midoriya. Then I'm going to throw you and the rest of your league into prison where they belong, All Might shouted as he charged towards Sensei. The part in that statement about Izuku confused everyone. Just what did All Might want with him? Did he think he had been brainwashed into joining the league? All for One, not caring about All Might's statement in the slightest, unleashed a combination of quirks from his arm that blasted the symbol of peace across the city, destroying several buildings in the process. Air propulsion, musculoskeletal coiling, 4 instantaneous impact quirks, and 3 physical strength amplification quirks. This is a fun combination. I think I'll add a few amplifier quirks to it next time, Sensei mused. Multiple quirks, Mina whispered. That's not possible. No one can have that many quirks. Izuku wasn't surprised at Mina's reaction. Having more than 2 quirks would be abnormal in this society. It didn't kill All Might, but it stalled him long enough for All for One to forcefully activate an unconscious Kurogiri's quirk, so the others could escape. Tomura, remember, there's still plenty of time for you to grow, Sensei urged his apprentice as he faced his arch-nemesis. At Compress's urging, Tomura ordered everyone to capture Bakugo, while Sensei held off All Might. Izuku offered to look after Dabi. The Compress had transformed into a marble for being unconscious, since he had absolutely no intention of helping capture Bakugo. If anything, he was hoping they wouldn't succeed since he didn't want Bakugo in the league. Compress seemed to understand this, so he gave Dabi to Deku without question. The league members then began trying to desperately capture Bakugo. Of course, he wasn't making it easy for them. Even Muscular was taking part, though only out of fear of Sensei. With everyone's attention focused elsewhere, now was as good a time as any to do it. It was time to free Mina. Mina, he addressed the girl next to him. You need to run, and you need to do it now. Go left here and by the buildings where no one will see you. Then head to the city center where there are lots of people. It'll be easier for you to escape. What about you? Mina responded fearfully. If you stay here, I won't betray my comrades. I owe them everything. But you need to escape, you won't get another chance like this, Deku insisted. Realizing he was right, Mina did as she was told. However, she called out to him just before disappearing. Thank you to Izuku, for everything really. I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for you. Whatever happens from now on, I hope it works out for you. Goodbye. And good luck, she said to him. And she was gone. Tenya, who was hiding behind a wall with his friends, noticed this and felt a great wave of relief. Mina was safe. That meant they only had to rescue Katsuki now. All Might, who had been battling Sensei, rushed to help his students. Sensei pulled him back, however, to stop his interference. It seems Ms. Ashido has escaped, Sensei murmured. No matter. She was never part of our plans. Sensei wasn't not particularly bothered by Mina's escape. He knew very well that Deku had freed her, he figured he would. The reason he allowed Deku to keep her was that he rarely, if ever, asked for anything in the league. Also, Mina never did anything against his plans, so there was no reason for her to suffer any unnecessary cruelty, especially from atrocity. That was another reason he did it. In part it was just to piss atrocity off. He was the one person who he hated about as much as All Might, for so many reasons. All Might was silently happy that the girl escaped. That just left Bakugo. As he stood up again, he noticed Izuku just standing at the side watching as the other villains tried to capture Bakugo. It appeared he had no desire to join, though Flamenco told him about their relationship it made sense. That was a big mistake. Once he noticed his enemy distracted, Sensei launched himself at him to deliver a full-powered punch to All Might's face that sent the symbol of peace flying. Now don't ignore me, All Might. I'm your opponent, not them, Sensei mocked. Why do you care about Deku anyway? Last time I checked, you were the one who told him he couldn't become a hero. Were you feeling guilty about it and trying to make things better? All Might gritted his teeth. So, All for One knew about that. Of course, he did. All for One had many methods of getting information. However, All Might had something he had been wanting to know for a long time now. Why? All Might asked, much to All for One's confusion. Why is he with you? What did you do to get him to join your organization? A few seconds after hearing what his nemesis said, All for One began laughing. Why? You want to know why? All for One taunted. Alright, I'll tell you. He's with us because of you, that boy you're so desperately trying to save, and most people that ever knew him. All Might froze. Though Deku did tell us about his past, I couldn't help but look at his memories to learn a bit more about him, All for One explained. I must say I was surprised when I saw it was much worse than he described. The things that those children and even his teachers put him through for being quirkless are all worthy of being called villains themselves. Take Bakugo for example, he abused Deku quite a bit back then. In fact, the day he met you, an hour or so earlier, Bakugo told him to kill himself by jumping off the roof, so he could be reborn with a quirk in another life. All for One didn't attack All Might, he wanted to see his reaction first. His eyes widened in shock and horror, much to his satisfaction. He knew Bakugo wasn't the nicest person, but he never believed he could be that cruel. And you told him he couldn't become a hero, well, that was the last straw for him. After that he went home to say goodbye to his mother before returning to the same building he met you. Tell me, All Might, just what do you think happened then? All for One gloated. All Might was frozen with shock. For a few seconds, he couldn't even breathe. No, he thought, horrified. He couldn't have. I didn't mean to, I never thought he'd. While it may not have been the best time to gloat, the sight of his mortal enemy suffering was too good to resist. As the old saying went, revenge is sweet, and it most certainly was in this case. He jumped, of course, hoping to put an end to it all. Kurogiri saved him at my orders and brought him here. I politely asked him to join us and he accepted, albeit with some conditions. All for One continued. Just things such as accommodation, work control, and not having to kill. The last part of that sentence caught All Might's attention. Why did you want him? He asked nervously. All for One grinned. While you and the rest of this society looked down on him for being quirkless, I actually noticed his talents and put them to good use. Thanks to his notes and formulas, our group has advanced in scientific development, and our strategies and tactics have evolved much further than they were before. All Might frowned. Just what did Midoriya do for the League that made it so powerful? It was clear he wasn't an active field agent. Enough chat, All for One declared. Let's get down to business. All Might snapped back to reality. He decided to think about all this later. Now he needed to deal with All for One. No words were spoken, the two enemies simply charged at each other and clashed once again. Meanwhile, Tomura and his group were having a lot of trouble trying to capture Bakugo, who was shooting explosions at anyone who came near him, especially Compress. Muscular successfully grabbed him at one point. That is until Bakugo unleashed a massive full-powered explosion, like the one he used against Uraraka at the festival, in his face. This temporarily blinded Muscular before he tried to capture him again. Not to be fussy guys, but we need to rescue him now. It doesn't look like All Might's fighting at full strength since Explosion Boy is there, Pop announced. And since the villains haven't noticed us yet, it's the perfect time to do it. The students knew she was right. The only question was how to do it. Tenya surveyed the situation very quickly. From the looks of things, Bakugo wasn't too far from them. In fact, if he and Pop used their quirks right, they could leap up with someone and beckon him towards them. Bakugo would be able to use his quirk to propel himself towards them. However, there was only one person who he would accept help from, someone he respected as an equal. Kirishima. I have an idea that might work. Tenya started drawing everyone's attention. Tenya explained his idea quickly. Everyone, especially Kirishima, agreed with it. And so Tenya and Pop, holding Kirishima by the legs, used their quirks to leap up into the sky. Bakugo, Kirishima shouted, catching everyone by surprise. The latter of which even put on stunned look. Take my hand. Not hesitating in the slightest, Katsuki propelled himself into the air and grabbed his hand. Magni tried to use his quirk, Magnetism, to send Compress after them, but Mount Lady got up to block him with her body before falling again. Unfortunately, that did nothing to stop Muscular. He launched himself after the students, and he was definitely pissed with Bakugo after being blasted in the face. That little bastard, I'm gonna kill him, he swore. I don't think so, Pop retorted. Pop released herself from Kirishima. Using her whip, she caught Muscular by the neck and pulled herself in to deliver a drill kick to the face. Muscular fell back to his allies. The rest of the villains were quickly knocked out by the arrival of Gran Torino. With that, the students finally escaped, much to Tomura's fury. Izuku on the other hand was delighted that he wouldn't have to put up with Katsuki. Foiled by a single move, Sensei mused. No way around it then. It was then he forcefully activated Magni's quirk to pull Tomura and his allies through the warp gate. As an extra precaution, he had set Kurogiri's quirk to send Muscular to a different area, since he did not trust him. Wait, Sensei. You can't, with that body you can't, Tomura screamed frantically. I'm still. Izuku didn't know what Tomura meant, but he knew he should be concerned. Was Sensei injured? He knew the man was old, but he was not aware of any major health problems. Before they were dragged through the warp gate, Sensei called out to them. Tomura. Continue the fight. Deku. Help him, Sensei said. But Atrocity. Atrocity, who had been watching the events up until now, had other plans. He wasn't about to let Deku slip away from him. Oh no, he was going to kill him right here and now. It was then that he activated the devices around the area. Deku, who was being sucked into the warp gate, was shot from behind by a laser beam. It sent him flying away just in time for the warp gate to close. Because it was just a test shot, it did not kill him. These devices were mini-pods, small flying devices that shot laser beams at their target. Normally they were invisible, but appeared when they used energy to fire. There was a special one just lying around for All for One, but now wasn't the time to use it. Atrocity watched as Deku stood up, confused as to what had hit him. Atrocity sent out his 6 mini-pods to deal with Deku. You quirkless scum. You took my toy from me, and then you let it escape, he growled before switching to a more psychotic grin. A knight rescuing the princess, my how awfully heroic of you. If you want to play hero so much, then fine, let's play hero. You be the hero, and I'll be the villain. Back at the warehouse. What the hell? Izuku muttered, bewildered as he stood up slowly. The blast hurt, but not that much. He noticed 6 small thin figures flying towards him. They began shooting beams of light at him. Izuku immediately dodged them by cartwheeling to the side. Sensei and All Might stopped fighting for a moment to look at this. What on earth? All for One said. You brought mini-pods with you. Are you that desperate to capture him? No, I came here on my own, All Might retorted. He then noticed the kind of damage those devices were causing. Wait, I don't think those things are for capturing him. Look at the power of their beams. It was true. The beams were burning the very earth around them. Sensei, don't worry about me, Izuku shouted. Just focus on defeating All Might. I can handle this. Very well, I'll leave it to you, Sensei replied. All Might, however, couldn't believe what he was hearing. You're just going to leave him to fend for himself, he yelled. I, unlike you, have faith in his abilities, All for One declared. I know he can handle this, and he will. So please, stop pretending to care about him when all you're really trying to do is correct a mistake, probably the biggest of your life, you made. The two rivals began exchanging blows of strength with each other. They caused shockwaves, but none of them was affecting Izuku, Gran Torino, or the heroes All for One defeated earlier. You destroyed all my comrades so you could become the magnificent symbol of peace. How's the view from standing over a bunch of defeated bodies? It's nice, right? All for One taunted. He prepared to use the core combination from before. All Might was ready for it this time though. He cancelled it with a Detroit smash, the impact of which forced them both back. I'm not going to let you fight as freely as you want. Heroes like you always have something that needs protecting, All for One stated. Just shut up. All Might shouted. That's how you always toy with others. You break them, steal from them, use them and rule them. All while you mock them from your throne. All Might then dashed forward with immense speed. So much that his enemy couldn't react. I would never allow such evil to continue existing, he said as he smashed through All for One's mask, revealing the scarred faceless man inside. Such beautiful words, All Might. Unfortunately, I've heard them all before, from your predecessor, Nana Shimura, All for One replied weakly. Upon hearing his master's name, All Might became enraged. He tried to attack again, but he was blasted by a weaker version of that core combination. He was caught by Gran Torino, who berated him for losing his temper and reasoned that he needed to stay calm to win. Helicopters arrived to broadcast the entire ordeal. They even caught Izuku dodging back and forth from the mini-pods. So, all of Japan was watching, all of it. Kamino City Center. Tenyu's group had successfully escaped from the area and were now watching the battle on a large-screen TV. Hey, you guys, Mina shouted as she rushed towards them. Yaoyorozu immediately embraced her while the others, except Bakugo, expressed their concerns. It was lucky you escaped when you did, Yaoyorozu said. Things are pretty crazy over there. It was Deku who freed me. While the other villains were distracted, he told me where to run, Mina explained. Deku, Tenyu said. Was he the boy you were standing next to? Mina nodded in confirmation. So that's who he is, Tenyu thought. Wait, then that means. His attention drifted back to the screen as did Mina. They looked just in time to see Deku's shoulder grazed by a laser beam. They didn't know why, but for some reason, that got the feeling that Deku was in more danger than anyone here. Whatever those things were, they certainly didn't belong to a hero. They weren't the only ones who were staring at Deku. Stain, who was watching via phone, quickly recognized what was really happening. Someone was trying to kill Deku. He cursed as all he could do was watch. Kid, you had better not die, he growled. Razor had a similar reaction when she saw it on TV. However, she was more compassed than Stain. So, someone's actually trying to kill him. Good luck with that. With the training he's received, there's no way he'll die, she stated. Also, Toshinori, stay focused on your enemy. Otherwise, you'll end up dead. Nezu, who was watching with his colleagues, quickly got to a computer. He might not have been able to help All Might, but he could at least stop those mini-pods from trying to kill that boy. Alright, here we go. Inko, who had been watching over at Mitsuki's, she was worried her son had the strongest reaction. The moment she saw him on TV, she felt her heart stop. Though his appearance had changed, she knew her son when she saw him. Izuku, my baby, she whispered with tears forming in her eyes. She stood up ready to leave, but Mitsuki stopped her. Don't go, Inko, she warned. The area is a war ground right now. Even if you did go, there's no way anyone would let you near it. So, you saying I should do nothing? My son, my baby, is there, and he's in danger. I finally know where he is, and you saying I should do nothing, Inko nearly yelled. Mitsuki remained calm and compassed. I'm not saying that at all. But the way things are now, you would just be getting in the way. You need to leave this to the pros. Have faith that Izuku will survive this ordeal, she replied. Inko gritted her teeth. She knew her friend was right. Grudgingly, she sat back down and focused on the screen. The second this is over, I'm heading down to the police station, she stated. Back at the warehouse, All Might and All for One continued to exchange fists, neither one letting up. All for One formed a whip made of light and attempted to hit All Might with it. the latter of which caught it, though it did sting, and used it to pull All For One close enough to deliver a powered kick to his gut that sent flying in the air. In retaliation, All For One sent a blast of fire at All Might and strengthened it with air to increase the power. All Might held it back with another Detroit smash. All Might then leapt into the air, only to be caught and kicked back down. All For One then unleashed the quirk combination from before, only this time he added a few more amplifier quirks. All Might tried a Detroit smash in midair, but it only lessened the power slightly. All Might crashed on the ground, taking on the full force of the attack. The impact from that attack had damaged the surrounding area, but Izuku was still safe as far as he could see. All Might stood up slowly. His body was damaged from that attack, with blood running from his head and mouth. All For One was in no position to brag, he was extremely exhausted. His body was in bad condition and been ever since All Might defeated him all those years ago. No matter what you put me through, no matter how beaten my body is, my heart will continue burning bright as the symbol of peace, All Might declared. How wonderful. I forgot how strong your pride was. However, I wonder if it will remain that way after you hear this. You see, All For One said. Tamura Shigaraki is Nana Shimura's grandson. The second those words left his mouth, All Might froze entirely. His smile vanished and was replaced by an expression of complete and utter shock. All For One was laughing inside at the way his nemesis looked right now. He had gotten the reaction he was hoping for. I've been waiting a long time to tell you that. It's funny, isn't it? You and Nana, you both fought against me, you tried to stop me, and yet you're both responsible for giving two wonderful things. Because she abandoned her son, it led to me getting Tamura. And because you shattered Deku's dream, I received him, All For One jeered. That attack on the USJ was just to get you two to meet. And you beat him into submission with a smile, completely unaware. Oh, and this isn't a lie, you know I wouldn't lie about something like this. All Might said nothing. At that exact moment, he was screaming internally. This couldn't be possible. He was related to Master. Him. Those two, what have I done? All Might thought, horrified. His face had changed to one of complete despair. All For One had never been as happy as he was right now. His mortal enemy was broken, it was all he could have ever hoped for. Don't give up. All Might, came a ragged voice that belonged to a woman. She was trapped beneath some debris, and she was crying. Please, save me. All over Japan, people were cheering for All Might. Encouraging him not to give up, encouraging him to win. Don't give up, All Might. You can do it. He'll save the day. He always does. All Might win the day. Everyone believed in him. With Nezu. Nezu was hacking as fast as his paws could go. These machines weren't so easy to override. He had seen the state All Might was in but wasn't particularly worried. All Might would win, he just knew it. Right now, he needed to help that boy. So far that boy had been lucky enough to dodge all the beams fired at him, but he wouldn't last much longer. Ugh, the boy howled in pain. He had finally been hit from behind and hit the ground. The pods then shot at him repeatedly. Hold on, just one more, Nezu said as he finally took control. And there we go. Now let's stop this, shall we? And just like that, the mini pods deactivated and fell to the ground. The boy who had been attacked stood up slowly. He was injured but alive, which was a relief. Just then Nezu saw a video chat link with the pods. Curious as to who was behind them, he connected to it. A new image appeared. One he, unfortunately, knew rather well. The image also knew him and was quite surprised to see him. Nevertheless, he switched to a malicious grin. Well, if it isn't my little mascot, Atrocity greeted. I didn't expect to see you here. Likewise, Nezu murmured. He didn't know what to expect, but it certainly wasn't him. Ah, how I've missed you, Atrocity said. I can't say I feel the same way, Nezu retorted. Don't be like that, we used to have a lot of fun together, Atrocity said. I was sad when you ran away. So much that I slaughtered anyone in my view at the time. Nezu said nothing. He felt sorry for the poor souls that were dead because of his escape, but at the same time, there was nothing he could do about it. Why are you trying to kill this boy? Nezu asked. His question made Atrocity angry. You mean Deku? Atrocity spat. Nezu raised an eyebrow. He knew all about this boy from All Might. That quirkless bastard took my new toy from me. Then he let it go, Atrocity raged. He deserves to die as painfully as possible for stealing from me. Toy? You mean Mizashido? Nezu asked, barely keeping the rage he was feeling back. The reason for Mina's kidnapping was finally revealed. He knew exactly what sort of person Atrocity was. He had been a toy for him once. He had been experimented on by him, tortured by him. It was how he received the scar over his right eye. Knowing he was going to do that to one of his students just made him angrier. The pink subhuman. Yeah, her, Atrocity stated. Listen, mascot, as much as I'd love to catch up, I have an important errand I need to run, so, see ya. And just like that, the screen blinked out, and it was just Nezu and his colleagues. Nezu turned his attention back to All Might. Regardless of how angry he was at seeing Atrocity again, he needed to give his friend his support. Back at the warehouse. Though All Might could not see them, he could feel the chants and hopes of the people cheering him on, telling him to win. That alone gave him the strength he needed to push forward. He stood up and stared at All For One, who was hovering in the air. He only had one option left, one attack that would finish this. His ultimate special move. All Might poured every ounce of power he had into his right arm and stood up. "Never fear," he said, his voice filled with strength. "You know you're right. All for One, heroes do have many things they need to protect. It's for that very reason why they can't lose. Use every bit of strength you have. Wounded heroes are always the most fearsome," All for One mused. He then began preparing to use his core combo again. "Since you're going all out, it would be impolite of me not to do the same." At that moment the other heroes, Endeavor, Edshot, Kamui, arrived. Endeavor cancelled out All for One's attack with his flames. Edshot followed up with a quick attack to his face. Kamui focused on rescuing the defeated heroes, Mount Lady, Best Jeanist, Gang Orca. All for One, however, having had enough of these interruptions, exerted a force from his body that sent everyone, minus All Might, flying. Izuku was also pushed back, but he managed to remain standing since he wasn't as close. He looked up at Sensei and said he had put an amalgamation of quirks on his right arm. "This is it," Izuku realized. "This will be the deciding factor. In order to kill you, I'll need the best and most suitable quirks I have, and strike you with them," All for One declared. He briefly glanced over at Izuku to make sure he was out of harm's way. After confirming his safety, he resumed his battle with All Might. The two enemies charged at each other once more in an effort to end this. With atrocity. "Well now, this is a glorious battle, All for One. Truly inspirational. Unfortunately, I can't take the chance that you might win," Atrocity declared. "That's why I saved a very special mini-pot just for you." Atrocity aimed at the pot from where All for One was charging. He locked on and fired. At the warehouse, All for One felt something hot pierce through the left side of his chest. It wasn't critical, but it made him lose his focus, which was more than enough for All Might. The symbol piece flew full force at All for One, and delivered a powerful blow to his face. "United States of Smash," All Might shouted. The impact blasted All for One halfway across the city. When he crashed, he didn't get up. It was over. All Might had won. The citizens who had been watching were cheering like crazy. Despite his victory, All Might quickly glanced over where Izuku was. He saw that the boy was lying against a pile of debris unconscious. He must have been forced back from the impact of his attack. It didn't matter though, he had found him, and that was what that mattered. Defeating All for One was an added bonus. "I did it, Inko. I kept my promise," All Might said. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.